All right, hey everybody, it's Charlie from the WTCF podcast. And again, I'm just hanging out at the house. I took today off of work so I can start to see some of the other transformations that are happening over at We the Collective Fitness in Forest Park. So right now we are going through demolition and it's about halfway, which is awesome. So we'll be able to start that building in no time, and I'm so excited. I actually took off of work, which is something I never do. I never take time off. Mainly, I thought I'd be carrying a bunch of garbage today, but they said I was good, so cool. I'll take it for today. So I wanted to go ahead and use this opportunity to talk a bit about taking recovery and how much time off is enough time off for your training. Like, what is the right amount of time? I would highly recommend it this way. For one, if you are too sore to train, don't train. So if going up and down the stairs is absolute agony, you don't have to train. You can train something else. You can try to work on something else. You can put your focus into something else. So again, group fitness classes a lot of times will aim full body. Go really, really easy on those ones. Don't push yourself hard. Be like, I'm beat up. This one I'm going to take easy, but I have energy. I can beat up on this one over here. Like whatever this exercise, maybe my shoulders feel great, or maybe my back feels great, or maybe just doing that extra push-up feels better. So again, kind of changing it up. So if you're too sore to train, don't. Other reasons why you shouldn't train. Sometimes we start to get into what's known as burnout, right? We can be overtrained. And I think a lot of people starting off feel that they get overtrained the first or second time they get sore, and that's not right. That's incorrect. You're just sore. You're not overtrained. Overtrained looks more like this. You've been at it for a while, and let's just take it as hypothetical. You're bench pressing 100 pounds for 3 sets of 10. That's your work. So you go in and you're doing your 3 sets of 10. It's going okay. And then you start to realize your 3 sets of 10 suddenly is 3 sets of 10 at 95 is hard on like a consistent basis. Like every once in a while, you're going to have these really rough days where it's not, you're not going to have it. It's just not going to be there. That's okay. Awesome that you went. It's not here today, right? You tried. Awesome. You'll be rewarded for it later, but no, you got nothing for it. But if it ends up being consistently, so you're doing your 3 sets of 10 at 100 pounds, and now you're 2-3 weeks in, it's like, dude, I'm getting 3 sets of 6 at 95. I am dying. Take a break. Stop. Right now, you've gone into a spot where you've overtrained, and now you're setting yourself back. Now, I say this because I went through it myself, and it cost me a ton of muscle mass in the process. I could have been jacked, but I get to start over, and that's okay. And maybe I don't need to be jacked. So it's a fun way to kind of process that. So if you start to feel like you're really burnt out and you're really struggling. So again, if you're doing group fitness classes and you're doing rows and you always grab the 10s and you're feeling really good with the 10s, they're always working for you. And, you try to go up to 12s. It's not there. So you stick at your 10s, you keep going. Now suddenly it's just too much work. Suddenly you're doing it. It's like, man, I can only do these at 8s. If that happens consistently, then you're overtrained, right? Let's say you get 2 or 3 times in a row where you are just not progressing. Give yourself a little bit. Take an extra day off. Allow yourself to recover. So what we're looking for in that scenario is to start our recovery process a little bit stronger. So that gets us right into the second one. We prioritize it. So making sure that we could heal from it. As we go ahead and train, we're tearing up muscles, right? That's what we're here to do. We're tearing up the muscles. So the body goes, holy shit, I'm going to die. So what am I going to do? I'm going to put more muscle here because then I don't feel that we're going to die. Cool. That's what I want you to do anyway. Put the muscle there. So as it goes ahead and rebuilds it, it takes a bunch of other resources through the body to go ahead and create that. You personally do not know how the muscle is created. Like your body does this, but you can't just get it to do it. You have to ask of it to go do it and then work from there. So it kind of works separately from you. Because if you could, I think most people would just put all their fat in the right places. I think we all would do that very quickly. So, as we go ahead and prioritize our recovery, what we need to recognize is that as we're tearing up this muscle and we're going to go ahead and start to heal and get ourselves back down to equilibrium, we're managing our fatigue. So managing our fatigue kind of stems off of that first example, right? If my fatigue is too high, I'm probably not going to be able to push harder. I'm going to have a tough time staying level if I'm too tired, right? So if I allow myself to recover and then start to heal a little bit, that little bit of extra time becomes really helpful. So that's why they're saying stuff like, all right, I want to go ahead and, I want to grow my glutes or I want to get stronger at my squat. You can practice your squat every day, but you're not going to progress every single day, right? If anything, that's way too much training. The body's not giving a chance to go ahead and recover. It's just trying to endure whatever you're doing. And eventually it's going to start to rip itself apart because it's not going to be able to fire the same way anymore. It just gets too beat up. So we start to prioritize things like making sure the joints and the mobilization of our body is properly functioning to our expectations, right? So that's where you go ahead and you start to take that 5 minutes before you go to bed, move stuff around and see what you can feel within yourself. That's why yoga, meditation, mobility work is awesome for this time. And it could be something that could actually help you promote your own sleep cycle. So if your body goes ahead and knows that you go do these things, it starts to recognize it. So I'll get into that later. One of the last things that's in here is just the mental refreshment. I recognize that a fair amount of my exercise is due to my own mental health, and it helps me. So it helps me think a little bit clearer. It gives me something to do. It gives my body something to work on as my mind tries to get better at things. So if I went ahead and said my mind wants to go ahead and get better, why would I not want my body to follow suit, right? So I would expect more out of it. So I find a really good connection in it. I often refer to doing some isolation movements as being yoga-like, where you just have this really good unity of the mind and the body working together. And it just feels really nice. And that's an awesome place to be. It's probably not yoga to some. And for some people, like that's too much yoga. And that's okay. Just connect to yourself. Because sometimes that fatigue builds up so much, it starts to mess with us mentally as well. So taking some time off, allowing that decompression, allowing yourself to kind of forgive things in your life and move forward and see what you can do from there. So you've taken the 2 weeks off, whether you got sick, you went on vacation, or you just got too busy and you didn't prioritize your stuff right for the week. Here's how you can look at it. You've taken 2 weeks off. Engage in light activity. So low impact stuff like walking, swimming, yoga, highly recommend that. Mobility work. This also includes deloading. So if you're so in love with training, as I have issues with sometimes, instead of just taking a break and taking a week off, I will cut all the volume out. So basically, I would go from something like, again, using our example of a bench press at 100 pounds, maybe I'm doing, 3 sets of 10, but I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do 3 sets of 6, half the weight at 50 pounds, and focus in on the stretch at the bottom. That could be it, right? That could be part of my recovery process and part of me taking a deload and me recognizing what my body's capable of. So I can make those adjustments. And the same kind of stuff can happen in a squat. Let's just say you're super, super strong. You have a 405 squat. You would come in, cut that in half, hang around 185, 225 range, maybe practice depth, practice pauses, practice other stuff in your lift that's not super clean. It's a great opportunity to go ahead and play around. Perfect way to go ahead and deal with it. So again, take a break off of the gym by going to the gym. Outside of that, prioritize your sleep. I kind of talked about that a little bit beforehand. So from my experience, I work well on about 6 hours of sleep, but I usually will be out cold. So I usually don't have any problems going to sleep at night. I run my body ragged as much as I possibly can to the worst health that I can possibly muster. Energy drink. So maybe not the best thing, right? I'm talking about health. But prioritizing my sleep became really helpful after a while. So what I started doing that helped me out a ton is set a pattern of things that are going to happen and then just execute on those things. So set it up where you're going to go to sleep at a certain time. So for myself, so here's mine. It doesn't have to be yours. Maybe you pick one piece of it and maybe all of it's garbage. Who cares? I know it's time to go to bed because I pick out my clothes for tomorrow. I have them hung up. I usually have my workout clothes that are sitting right next to my bed. I'll have my lunch packed ready in the fridge. So it'll be sitting in its bag, ready to go. My bags will be in their places where they need to be, like wallet, keys, phone, all that stuff are in their places where they need to be. And then I sit in bed and I start to kind of just think about the day. And since I spend so much time being active throughout the day, I'm usually out cold pretty quickly. But my body has come to realize that these events occur and then it just winds you down, right? So again, you get into your routine where you suddenly realize you take your contacts out, you brush your teeth. Maybe those are the steps. And maybe really appreciate those steps is like, this is my reminder that I'm going to sleep now. Might help. Who knows? Hopefully it does something or get you thinking about it. So again, prioritizing your sleep and then just managing your stress. Says people who have a lot of anxiety, right? Managing your stress can be incredibly difficult, whether it be substance or something or patience or whatever it may be that kind of helps you decompress. Might be cooking or gardening or another skill that you really enjoy. Something that you can kind of do, not mindless, but relaxed. And sometimes I find that in lifting as well. So again, that's what helps me out a whole bunch. So you've taken that time off, right? And then you're ready to go ahead and jump back in. So what could you be doing over that time frame to help yourself further? So other things that we can go ahead and work on are our dietary changes. So I do have a sports nutrition certification. This is not me telling you everything you should eat. These are just recommendations. I've tested these ones on myself. They work anecdotally, so that's what I'm going to go with. If you're going to take this break and you're not going to be walking around training, deloading, any of that other work, it might be nice to reduce your calories. So that extra chocolate bar that it kind of comes up, again, I have chocolate chips like right next to me. Like, so those things I'm going to have to probably sparse out even more so, right? Because the engine in my body is that metabolism that I've been building up is now going to start to ramp down because it's like, oh, good, we don't have to do that work anymore. So I might just want to find a couple of things, maybe make a couple of swaps and kind of go forward from there, right? Hey, I'm going to go ahead and have pizza. Perfectly fine. But if I'm going to normally have 4 slices, maybe I'm going to get away with like 3 or 2. Or you're just like, you know what? I'm actually not all that hungry. Like, not for pizza. Maybe I don't need that today. All right? You get to make that choice. Maintain your protein intake. As I go ahead and say, cut your calories. Keep your protein high. So you would prioritize that stuff. So instead of having an Oreo, you would eat another serving of chicken breast at dinner, right? So I'm not saying like you have the 2 in your hands and you have to figure it out and you have to, like, during another meal, ramp up your protein a little bit more because it's very satiating and keeps you full. And again, managing your muscle mass, and it does a ton of other work within your body, whether it be like regulating some enzymes, growing your fingernails, your hair. There's all. Sorry, Peter. I know he'll never see this, but hair. But it does a ton of other things for your body, so it becomes really important in that regard. Start to think more nutrient dense food. So during that time frame, I still would recommend a multivitamin for most people. Like, why not just take them, especially if you don't know, like, especially if you know you're kind of eating like garbage. Multivitamin's a nice placeholder, but then again, start to think more nutrient dense foods. So if you're going to go ahead and just have iceberg lettuce, which is just essentially crunchy water, maybe something different this time around. Maybe kale that's slightly reduced, or using Swiss chard, some other things that can be nutrient dense a little bit more. Switching some of those things out that could be a little bit heavier is perfectly fine. So again, it's making sure that you can kind of find the right foods to keep the engine running. And the last one, even though I'm still really bad at this, stay hydrated. Drink tons and tons of water. I think that should just be put into anything that's ever said by anybody. So, well, hopefully this helped you out in getting a better direction on how to go ahead and handle taking some time off from the gym, knowing that it's perfectly fine to go ahead and do that. So good luck on the next one.